Chapter 1. The letter. I found the letter on a Monday morning. No return address. The paper was slightly yellowed, as if it had been tucked away for years. The envelope was addressed in elegant, slightly old-fashioned handwriting. My name, Alice Northwood. Nothing more. I didn't open it right away. There was something wrong. Like sticky cobwebs on my fingers, the feeling that someone was watching me. Though I was alone in my London flat, standing in the kitchen with a cup of tea. When I finally tore the envelope open, my heart began to pound. Forgive me. I can't carry this anymore. I killed her. It was a mistake. I didn't know she had a sister. My hand trembled. I read the note at least 20 times. No mistake. It was meant for me. And it was about my sister. A sister I never knew existed. Chapter 2. The shadow in the mirror. I rang my mother. Her voice was shaking. Alice, who sent that? Who knows? Knows what? Come down. We need to talk. When I arrived at her cottage in Devon, she was silent for a long while. Then she pulled an old shoebox from the wardrobe and handed me a photograph. It showed me. And another girl. Identical. Twins. Her name was Adeline. She died during childbirth. Mum said. At least that's what we were told. Her words echoed in my head. I stared at the girl, a mirror image of myself, and felt my world cracking. The letter said she had lived. And someone killed her. Because they didn't know there was another one. Chapter 3. Digging. I started searching. Hospital records, birth certificates, medical documents. And in one file I found something strange. There was only one birth certificate, mine. But on the delivery log for that day, the surname Northwood appeared twice. The second name had been scribbled out in heavy ink. Adeline. I tracked down a retired doctor who had worked at the hospital. Old with trembling hands. He didn't want to speak, but when I showed him the letter, his face turned pale. That can't be, he whispered. She was taken. I thought she died. Taken by who? He only shook his head. Leave it. This is too dangerous. Chapter 4. Other lives. A week later, I found out that Adeline had lived under another name. She'd been adopted by a wealthy family in Edinburgh. Her new name, Victoria Ashcroft. I found photos online. She was me. Completely. One of her friends had written, Victoria's tragic death has left a void in all of us. Date of death, 2 months ago. I found the address where she used to live. The flat was empty. But in the stairwell, an elderly woman stopped me. Are you here for Vicky? You look just like her. I'm her sister, I said. And for the first time, I knew it was true. The old woman let me in. Everything inside was untouched. On the desk, a diary. Chapter 5. Victoria's diary. Victoria wrote about fear. Someone was following her. Strange items appeared in her flat, objects she didn't recognize. Once, she woke to find a stone had been thrown through the window. Tied to it was a note. You were never meant to live. Her final entry read, I feel death getting closer. But I don't regret anything. I've found the truth. And I want to find her, my sister. If I don't make it, I hope she finds me. I cried over the page. She had been looking for me. And now she was dead. Murdered. Chapter 6. Mirrors and doubles. The police closed the case as suicide. But Victoria hadn't planned to die. She had meetings. A job. A future. I spoke to a colleague of hers. He remembered her arguing with a man in a leather jacket on the day she died. The office CCTV? Broken. That day only. How convenient. I studied the letter again. The handwriting was oddly familiar. I brought it to a graphologist. After a few days he told me. Strangely enough, this is your handwriting. Just slightly off. As if written in a dissociative state. It was impossible. Or was it? Chapter 7. Awakening. I started having dreams. Strange vivid. I was Victoria, living her life, walking in her skin, looking into mirrors and not recognizing myself, or worse, recognizing too much. I went to a therapist. He suggested dissociative identity disorder, a fractured self. But I've always been me, haven't I? One night, I woke up, standing in front of the mirror, letter in hand. I had no memory of getting up. On the shelf beside me, a voice recorder. I pressed play. My voice. Low. Cold. Unfamiliar. She took everything. My life. My mother. My name. She was the mistake. I was meant to be alone. I'll take it all back. Chapter 8. The truth. I stood in the silence, numb, watching myself from the outside. The truth had always been there. No one else had killed Victoria. It was me, or a part of me, the buried, forgotten self. We must have met once, by chance, on the street, and something inside me shattered. I don't remember the meeting, but she did. She wrote in her diary. I found her, but she looked at me like I was a ghost. And I knew she would never forgive me. Epilogue. I'm in a clinic now. It's quiet here. Peaceful. They let me write sometimes. The doctors say I'm improving. But I know someone else is still inside. Sometimes I look in the mirror, and I see her. Victoria. Or Adeline. Or me. And every time I wonder, who is truly alive? And who is only the reflection? Chapter 9. Fragmentation. The clinic walls are white, too white. I count the cracks in the ceiling to calm the storm inside. They tell me I dissociate, that I retreat inward. But where do I go when I disappear? Sometimes I wake up with ink on my hands. Pages filled with a handwriting that looks like mine, but isn't. Sometimes it's letters to Victoria. Sometimes it's confessions I don't remember writing. The nurse, Claire, asked me yesterday if I remembered the visit from the man. What man? She said he claimed to be my uncle. That he brought a photo of 2 babies in a hospital bassinet. No one can find the photo now. No one even remembers the visit except her. I no longer trust memory. Mine or anyone else's. Chapter 10. The garden window. There's a window in the west corridor of the clinic. It overlooks the garden, but it's also reflective. On cloudy days, it's like a mirror. And sometimes, when I sit alone just before dusk, I see her. Not a reflection. Not entirely. She moves differently. She tilts her head and smiles in a way I don't. She mouths things. Once I read her lips clearly. I'm not finished. I tried to ask Dr. Halbridge about hallucinations. He only said, our mind protects itself in strange ways. But I don't feel protected. I feel haunted. Chapter 11. The locked wing. There's a wing of the clinic they don't let patients into. It's older, abandoned. Yet sometimes I see light under its doors at night. Once, I followed the sound of humming. A lullaby. Familiar. I pressed my ear to the door. And I heard her. I found her. She doesn't belong. Then silence. In the morning, I found a drawing under my pillow. Crayon on thin paper. 2 girls, holding hands. One of them had no face. Chapter 12. Voices on tape. I found an old tape recorder in my wardrobe. One of the nurses said it wasn't from the clinic. I don't remember bringing it. There were 3 tapes inside. I played the first one. A voice. Mine. She isn't gone. She never was. You buried her, but she remembered. The second tape was just a melody. Something like a music box. Familiar. From childhood. The third, laughter. 2 girls laughing, then silence, then a single whisper. Do you remember the lake? I didn't. Not yet. Chapter 13. The lake. Dr. Halbridge agreed to a therapeutic trip. A visit to Devon, under supervision. Back to the old family cottage. I walked the grounds like a stranger, following fragments of memory. And then I saw it. Behind the trees, half overgrown, the lake. Sudden flashes. 2 girls. Running. One slips. Water. Screaming. A splash. Silence. Mum found me hours later, shivering at the water's edge. You said she drowned. I whispered. Mum went pale. No. Alice, you were the one who fell in. But someone pulled me out. I remember hands. 2 of them. Just like mine. Chapter 14. Letters in the wall. Back at the cottage, I broke into the old guest room. Boards creaked underfoot. In the wall behind the dresser, I found a cavity. Inside were letters. Dozens of them. All addressed to Victoria. All from me. Or from someone like me. I remember what you took, one said. You don't get to erase me, said another. The dates on the letters? Some from before Victoria was even adopted. Some from recent months. It didn't make sense. Or it made perfect, horrifying sense. Chapter 15. Identity. I asked Mum if I had ever called myself Adeline as a child. She froze. Why do you ask? Because sometimes I feel like she's not dead. Like she's me. Mum didn't deny it. She only cried. You used to speak to someone who wasn't there. You'd talk to a mirror and say, "Don't leave me behind." She never told me. I think she was trying to protect me. From what? From who I really am. Chapter 16. Reflection. Tonight I saw her again. In the window. In the mirror. In my skin. She said only this. I'm not the shadow. You are. And suddenly I knew. I was never the only one. Not the original. Not the survivor. Maybe I was the reflection all along. Maybe I was the one who was never meant to live. Chapter 17. The other name. I asked the clinic staff to call me Adeline. They refused at first. But after a while, they stopped correcting me. When I sign my name, it feels real. More real than Alice ever did. But that name, that life, it has blood on it. I keep dreaming of the lake. This time, I'm the one who pulls her under. And I don't let go. Chapter 18. The visitor. A new psychiatrist came to the clinic today. Dr. Marin. Younger. Kind eyes, but probing. He said, "Tell me something true." I said, "I killed my sister." He paused. "Which one?" I didn't answer. Because I didn't know. Chapter 19. The collapse. There was an incident. I blacked out. When I came to, I was holding a mirror shard in my hand. My arm was bleeding. A name was scratched into my forearm. Victoria. But I don't remember doing it. They moved me to isolation. In the white silence, I whispered to the wall. "Are you still there?" And someone whispered back, "Always." Chapter 20. The final page. Today I was allowed to write again. This is my last page. Whether I am Alice or Adeline or Victoria, I don't know anymore. Maybe we were never meant to be separated. Maybe we are 3 echoes of the same voice. But one of us has to go. I'll close my eyes now. And when I open them, we'll see who's still here. Chapter 21. The mirror room. They moved me again. This room has no windows. Just mirrors. 4 of them, 1 on each wall. They said it was for therapeutic reflection. Therapeutic. I laughed when I heard that word. I don't laugh often anymore. Each mirror shows me a different version of myself. In one I look older. In another, my eyes seem darker. One shows me blinking out of sync. And one, the worst, doesn't show me at all. Just the room behind me. Empty. Dr. Marin asked if I believed in parallel selves. I said no. Then I stared into the 4th mirror again. And watched something step behind me. But when I turned, there was nothing. Just the hum of the clinic. And my own breath. Or someone else's. Chapter 22. Reconstructing Alice. Dr. Marin brought in a box. Inside, objects from my past. A photo of me, or Alice, Age 6. A birthday card. A broken music box. Let's remember who Alice is, he said. But I didn't recognize the photo. Not really. The girl smiled too easily. Too brightly. I kept staring at the music box. I didn't know the tune until it began to play on its own. Then I remembered. Not a birthday. A funeral. Then, a white dress. Victoria watching from a distance. Or was it me? Dr. Marin wrote something in his notes. I asked him if memories can be transplanted. He didn't answer. Just smiled. And locked the box again. Chapter 23. The third voice. Lately, there's a third voice in my head. Chapter 24. File room 7. I convinced Claire to let me into the file archive. Just for 10 minutes. It's not Alice. Not Victoria. It's colder. More composed. She tells me things I don't want to hear. She says the truth isn't in the past. It's in what I erased. She says I made the choice. That we agreed. That someone had to vanish for the others to survive. I asked who she was. She said, I'm what's left when the lies are stripped away. I tried not to listen. But that night, I dreamt of her. She was sitting at my childhood desk. Writing in a diary. My diary. And when she looked up, she had no eyes. Just 2 mirrors. The basement corridors were colder than I remembered. The lights flickered, then steadied. Room 7 was locked, but I knew the code. Somehow. Inside, rows of patient records. Not just mine. Victoria's. And another folder. Adeline Northwood. It was dated 3 years after my birth. Impossible. Inside, reports from a foster home. Therapy notes. Behavioral assessments. Adeline exhibits mimicry. Identity instability. Prone to disappear into invented personas. There were drawings. Mirror mazes. 2 girls. One always in shadow. Then the last page. Recommend full identity integration. Risk of collapse otherwise. The stamp at the bottom. Discharged. No records remaining. Except I was holding them. Chapter 25. The storm. That night, a storm hit. Lightning cut across the sky, flashing through the narrow window above my cot. I felt electric. Unstable. I saw the girl in the mirror again. This time she wasn't mouthing anything. She was screaming. I covered the mirror. But the scream didn't stop. Nurses found me curled in the corner, fingernails bloody, mirror shards embedded in my palm. I kept repeating one word. Integration. They sedated me. In the black void that followed, I saw the lake again. But this time, 3 girls were standing on the shore. And only one walked away. Chapter 26. Halbridge's notes. Dr. Halbridge had retired. But I remembered he kept a private office at the edge of the property. I waited for a shift change. Slipped out through the laundry corridor. The key was under the flower pot, just like years ago. Inside his office, I found the patient logbook. Dusty. Yellowed. My file was thicker than the others. Inside. Patient exhibits highly advanced identity displacement. Case merged with Victoria Ashcroft under sealed order. A scribbled note. Memory suppression failed. Shadows returning. Mirror tests inconclusive. Recommend immediate withdrawal. But the last entry was stranger. She knows. It was dated tomorrow. Chapter 27. The agreement. I found her in the mirror again. Not a hallucination. Not a dream. We spoke. Not aloud. Not exactly. But I felt her voice inside me. She said we made a deal long ago. One would live. The others would sleep. But someone me broke the agreement. I asked what would happen now. She said. Either you disappear. Or I do. But we can't both walk out of here. Then she stepped forward. Out of the mirror. And I felt her hand slide into mine. I didn't pull away. Chapter 28. The visitor returns. Dr. Marin returned. He asked if I was ready to leave. I said yes. But which one of you am I speaking to? He asked softly. I smiled. The one who remembers. He didn't press further. He handed me a sealed envelope. Someone left this for you. Said you'd understand. Inside was a single photograph. The lake in winter. Snow on the trees. 3 girls. One blurred. On the back, scrawled in red ink. Finish it. Chapter 29. The lake again. They let me return to Devon, unsupervised this time. I stood by the lake at dusk. No wind. No birds. Still water. I took out the photo, tore it in half, then quarters, then dropped them into the water. Something moved beneath the surface. A ripple, then another, and then a shape, rising. Not Alice, not Victoria, something in between. I didn't run. I stepped into the water and whispered. I remember now. The shape reached for me, and the water closed above us. Chapter 30. The letter again. Monday morning. Claire, the nurse, found a sealed letter on the nightstand in room 12. No patient had been checked in under that name for months. The envelope was yellowed. Elegant handwriting. To Dr. Marin. Inside. Forgive me. I can't carry this anymore. I took her life. But I had to. She was the reflection. I was the original. At least, I think I was. The mirror never lies. But it never tells the whole truth either. No signature. Just one word at the bottom. Adeline. Chapter 31. The White Room. I woke up in a room with no windows. White walls, white ceiling, white floors. Almost clinical but warmer. No one spoke when they entered. They simply observed. There was no mirror here. Just a metal tray with a folded towel, a comb, and a glass of water. Days passed. Or what felt like days. No clocks. No time. Then a voice from behind the wall. Adeline. Or Alice. Or both. Do you know where you are? I didn't answer. Because I wasn't sure. If this was real. If I was real. But I did know one thing. Something was waiting on the other side of that wall. Something that remembered more than I did. And wasn't finished with me yet. Chapter 32. The letter that wasn't there. One morning, the tray held something new. A letter. Same yellowed paper. Same elegant hand. But this time it was blank. Or so I thought. Under light, words appeared, as if written in invisible ink. I remember the water. I remember the choice. But I don't remember who I was before you. The ink faded again. I blinked. Held it to the light. Nothing. It wasn't a message. It was a memory. But whose? Chapter 33. The other girl. They brought another patient in. A girl who looked like me. Not entirely, but enough. Same eyes. Same way of folding her hands in her lap. Same habit of staring through people instead of at them. Her name was Elise. She claimed to have dreams about a girl who drowned. And a diary she never wrote. We weren't allowed to speak much. But once, during group silence, she passed me a note. I think I'm your shadow. I didn't respond. But that night I dreamt of Elise. Standing by the lake. And me or someone like me, pulling her under. Chapter 34. The lock in the loop. There was a hallway in the facility I hadn't seen before. It appeared only at night. Every time I stepped into it, the lights dimmed. The doors looked familiar, rooms I thought I'd already been in. I walked in circles, but each pass altered slightly. A photo missing. A bed unmade. A journal entry rewritten. Eventually I understood. This was memory. Not literal. Not physical. A mental loop, created to keep me from something. But from what? On the 7th night, I turned left where I had always turned right. And the loop broke. And what waited at the end of the hall was a door. Unlabeled. Locked. Until I said my name. Not Alice. Not Adeline. Not Victoria. But all three. It opened. Chapter 35. The Room of Names. Inside was a mirror. But this one was different. It wasn't glass. It was water. Rippling, though the room was still. When I leaned over, I saw names swirling beneath the surface. So many names. Most weren't mine. But a few I remembered whispering as a child. Adeline. Alice. Victoria. Elise. Even names I hadn't heard in years. Each one had a life. A voice. A memory attached to it. And I understood something. I was never one. I was always many. Not fractured, collected. A constellation of selves in one fragile body. Chapter 36. The Confession. Dr. Marin returned. He sat across from me, older now. More tired. I need to tell you something, he said. And he did. He had known my mother. Years ago. Before I was born. He had been a young doctor then. Interested in experimental therapy, cognitive identity mapping. My mother had been one of his earliest subjects. And I, or we, were the result. Your mind adapted around the interference, he said. You weren't born with multiple selves. They were planted. As a test. A terrible one. I didn't scream. I didn't cry. I only asked. And did it work? He hesitated. You're still here. So yes. And no. Chapter 37. The Rewrite. The blank letter returned the next morning. This time, when I held it up to the light, the words changed as I watched. What if none of this happened? What if the diary was written before you ever existed? What if Victoria never lived? Only imagined by you to justify your grief. I burned the letter. But the words remained in my head. If memory was a construct, if self was a defense, what remained when you stripped it all away? I stared into the wall and waited for the next question. But none came. Only silence. And in that silence, clarity. Chapter 38. The Room with No Mirror. They brought me to a new room. Completely empty. No mirror. No windows. Just a blank wall and a chair. I was told to sit. Then a voice echoed from above. Tell us who you are. And I began. I told them everything. The lake. The dreams. The letters. The girls. The screams. The faces in the mirror. The fingers under the water. I spoke until I was hoarse. And when I was done, they were silent. But I didn't need their answer anymore. Because I knew. Chapter 39. The Exit. They gave me clothes. A passport. A train ticket. The name on the documents was Adeline Northwood. I didn't correct it. As I left the grounds, I saw Claire at the gate. She smiled, not like a nurse. Like someone who had once been a version of me. Do you feel ready? She asked. No, I said. But I'm real now. She nodded. And I walked. Into fog. Into silence. Into whatever came next. Chapter 40. The Mirror Reversed. In a small flat by the coast, I unpacked the only thing I took from the clinic. The mirror shard. I placed it on the table and looked in. And this time I didn't see her. I saw me. Not Alice. Not Victoria. Not even Adeline. Just a face. Mine. And for the first time, I smiled. Not because it was over, but because it had finally begun.